Okay, what's up everybody? This is a video on, I see a lot of people asking, when I first buy a fruit tree, should I, sir, excuse me, you on the clock. No sir. Look, let me tell you something. Are you ready to go on your cat food auditions, cat food commercial auditions? You ready? Okay, because you all got to earn some money. All right, back to the topic at hand. I see a lot of people asking, should I repot my trees as soon as I get them? Or should I up-pot them? Or should I get them in the ground? What have you, what have you. I see people asking that all the time. Everybody got their own philosophy. I'm just going to tell you what I do. Me personally, every time I've gotten a fruit tree, I did not repot it or up-pot it as soon as I got it. I really never have. When I got my figs, they stayed in their original pots, believe it or not, a year. Now, I will say this. If you get the figs that are in the little pots this size, which I think that's like a 1 gallon, yeah, you might want to up pot that because it's probably root bound. But that's what I'm getting to, y'all. When you get that tree, most time, you can grab the trunk, and if you have somebody or put your foot on the pot or do something, you can pull that tree up out of there a little bit. Look and see if it's root bound. If you don't see no roots around the perimeter there when you pull that up, I wouldn't mess with it. Because let me tell you something. I bought this tree a year ago. As you can see, this the same pot it came in. I ain't even taking the call 811 before you did thing off. Why did I do that? When I got this tree, it had fruit. Most of the time when I buy my trees, they have fruit. Hashtag Team Greedy. Y'all already know my slogan. I need stuff to be productive and producing because I'm greedy and I want to eat now. I don't want to eat later, especially if I'm buying a tree from a nursery or whatever. I'm sorry. If I'm growing it from seed, yeah, no crap. You got to wait. You got to wait for the tree to get bigger. But if I'm buying it from the store, I need to see some blooms, some fruit, some something. And I don't want to repot it, stress the tree, and it drop all this fruit. So I did not repot this. And it had tons of fruit on it. Persimmons just do that. They drop a lot of their fruit and they keep what they can handle. It kept 2. A squirrel got to 1. And the other one I was able to eat. This year it had 3 or 4. But it dropped all of them. But I already know why it did that. A lot of my limbs on this tree died back. Like this is a new limb. If you notice, a lot of my limbs are super short. A lot of this tree died back because we got a night where it was like 40 something. And the limbs were not completely lignified, meaning they didn't have like actual bark on them. They were still green. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. A lot of these have already kind of browned up some. But y'all know what I'm talking about. When a tree first get a limb, it's green. When it first get a stem, it's green. I'll show you on another tree. Because these trees I can't really show you because they already browned up. But all these limbs are new. These limbs were not on this tree last year. All the limbs from last year I had to cut off. It did not kill the roots or the trunk, which is why it was able to spring forth and give me new limbs. Well, it was focusing on putting new limbs on the tree, so it could not focus on fruit. So know that if you have something going on like that, don't try to get fruit out of a tree that's been through too much stress. Once again, that's why I did not repot. I did not want to stress the tree, make all the fruit fall off. If I had a repotted that tree, guarantee you all the fruit would have fell off. I at least got 1 last year. The same with my figs. My figs came in that size pot. They actually stayed in that pot for 3 or 4 years, I think. I up-potted them. They still weren't root bound into those about a year ago. Those are self-watering pots. I hardly ever water my figs. I don't water my figs until the leaves start to droop. Figs are naturally a desert plant. And I'm going to do a video on knowing natively what type of plants and stuff things are so you kind of know how to treat them. Because some people are lost as to what a fruit or plant, where it natively comes from or evolves from, and they don't know how to treat them. So let's go back here and look at the rest of the trees so I can show y'all some stuff. This is my kumquat. I put it in one of the laundry totes. Now let me show you this here. This tote here, the top rim is breaking off, but the bottom of it is still perfectly. You see how it's another color blue in there? All this top where it's baby blue, yeah, that's toast. The sun pretty much cooked this. What's weird is the black ones didn't do that. The black ones did not break. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if the black helps protect it from the UV or what. But they didn't break. But that's what I had my fruit trees in before, for those of y'all that's new to my channel. If you want to know how long those lasted for me, I live in Texas. It's hot as freak here. And those lasted 6 years. They lasted 6 years. When I did finally take my trees out of the pots, this is what I put them in. That's what I could afford. If I couldn't afford, go to the garden center and look at a planter that big and see how much it costs you. It ain't $5. So that's what I went with. As far as color, I bought what they had. They had blue and black. I bought 5 at one time, and then I saw one more. And I bought 5 at one time, and then I bought 2 more. And then that was that. And I put my fruit trees in there. My fruit trees stayed in there for 6 years. None of them were even close to being root bound. The only one that actually had roots toward the edge was that apple tree. That was the only one. All the rest of them, they probably could have stayed in there another 2 years. So if you're looking for something to where you can leave your trees in there for years and years, and maybe you can't ever put them in the ground, or you want to do your trees in containers, you can most definitely do it in those. I don't think you would have to root prune, but maybe once every 5 or 6 years. Because like I said, mine weren't even root bound when I got them out. But I will say this, maybe at 5 or 6 years interval, if you try to get it out of there and the thing breaks, go buy you another one. Like I said, it's $5. Now, I will admit this. A lot of times, these little rope handles, you see how that's flaking off? The little rope handles will give up on you. See how that's about to break? A lot of my rope handles broke. But I didn't move my trees very much. If you're moving your trees all the time, I don't really know an alternative for you. So, back to what I was saying, when a tree grows a limb and the limb is green. See how that's green? It's not bark. You see what I mean? So instead of it being like down here, you see that's brown bark. So when your trees have not completely lignified all the way out, and you have new growth that's green out here on these tips, I'm going to try to show y'all where, can y'all see that in there where it basically, you go from kind of like bark. My camera don't want to focus for nothing. My camera is playing me. That's all right. I'm going to get me another camera. That's going to fix it. But anyway, it goes from bark to green. So when you have those green places, if you get a frost, that stuff is susceptible to be damaged. But yeah, as far as potting, as soon as you up potting or repotting or putting it in the ground, as soon as you get the tree, my opinion, no, especially if it got fruit on it. If you repot it with fruit, it probably will drop the fruit. It may or may not, but I ain't want to risk it. I want to taste the persimmon. And so, you know, it is what it is. But even these pears and peaches, I left them in their original pot for 1 year. May have been 1.5 years before I got those big pots, and they stayed in there for 6 years, those laundry totes. So I just wanted to mention that to people, because I know I see that question a lot. Also, I want to mention this. I put all these trees in the ground right as they started to, the buds started to open and they were just starting to bloom. If you can avoid that, try to. I would say that you should try to avoid putting your trees in the ground or up potting when they have blooms, buds, or fruit on them. Golly, what happened right there? Something nearly gnawed that off, and that sucker got fruit on the end of it anyway. But yeah, because what I did was, those 2 peach trees, both of them had blooms. All the fruit fell off of this one. All the fruit fell off, but then it started growing like mad. Like you might can see it good here. See how it's brown back here? It's starting to lignify and get bark, but it ain't completely got bark because you see a little bit of green. But then up here, it's completely green versus, see right here, it's completely bark. Out here, it's completely bark. That's green. That's my little new growth. You see what I mean? So this one, after it dropped all this fruit, it's like it just went straight growth mode because this whole thing right here is new. And I've never had peach leaves that big, ever. Never had peach leaves that big. Which that's cool with me. I don't have no problem with that. This one retained 10 peaches, and I just ate the last 2 off today. Look how little the leaves are. Now, they're healthy looking leaves, but it didn't do near as much growing. Like, you don't have a lot of limbs, like with these green, you don't have near as much growth. See at the tips, look like it just put out leaves. It didn't really focus on growing. So now that the fruit is off of this tree, hopefully it'll focus on growing. You also see how it's not as many leaves? Look at that one. That one's a lot more bushy. So I didn't anticipate putting them in the ground with blooms and stuff on them. I was late. I needed to get them in the ground, and I didn't want to wait a whole nother year. So I went ahead and did it while it had blooms on it. For those of you out there, I do not recommend that if you can help it. If you can't help it and you just need to get it in the ground, then do it. But just, pay attention to your tree and see what happens. This is just something that I learned. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I was hoping that tree would keep some of the fruit. It didn't. I only got 10 peaches off of that. That's the lowest amount of peaches I've ever gotten since these trees started bearing. They started bearing about 3-4 years ago. And that's the lowest amount of peaches I've ever gotten. And I've never had a tree get as many blooms as this one did and drop all the fruit. Never had that happen. I'm almost certain it's because I put it in the ground and it was stressed. It had to get, I'm going to use stress lightly. Let's say it had to get acclimated to its new surroundings. So that is something that I will attempt to not do again if I can help it at all. But like I said, I need to get it in the ground, and it is what it is. So that's just a word for y'all, a quick tip on when to transplant your trees and do all that kind of stuff. I'll keep y'all updated on the trees and see what happens, see what they do from here on out. Stay tuned for a video about sun and shade. I saw some mixed reviews about that. I'm going to tell y'all my experience with that as well. So, till next time, I will see you guys later.